Hey y'all, still making babies here and drawing a piranha. We are working on little Gemma. Here is her hair so far, but I am gonna root over top of this. I think I like it. I think it's okay, but I'm not thrilled, and well, I'm never thrilled, but I feel like I could be more thrilled if I just root it. So I got some pretty I can't remember the person who I got it from. I'll have to think on that. But anyway, I've got some really pretty mohair that I'm gonna put on that, and it's pretty close to the same color. It's like a dark brown, baby brownish color. So thought maybe we would just go ahead and stuff her body and legs, and then I'm gonna take her head with me and get it rooted. I like to sit at work because I do telephone triage, and between phone calls, if I don't have anything else going on, I can just sit and poke hair and baby doll heads. So I do that sometimes when I have one that needs the rooting. So what I'm doing right now is, this is the body that I like. It's got the gathered chest and the gathered butt, but I buy the string type version, which is cheaper, and then I just take out the strings and put my own zip ties in there. So I do that a lot. Sometimes I buy the other one. I don't know, buy what I feel. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and run, and you have to do a little finagling because there's little seams in there. You've got to figure out, sometimes it's easier to go this way than it is to go that way, because you run into a little piece of a fold. And if the seam is going the wrong direction, it'll stop you, and it's easier to just take it out and go the other way. So that way worked really well. If we can get it all the way around, we'll be doing good. Usually you can't. You have to figure out how to get past the little area of stitching. But I want to get this through, and I'm going to do the arm and the leg holes. And I'll be right back. Okay, so got that done. Now it's got zip ties rather than strings, and I'll cut those off after I put the appendages on and tighten it up, and then we'll just trim it close to the end there. You've probably watched enough videos that you know the procedure. These are what I like to use. They are microfiber little girls tights. I find that the beads don't fall through them as much as they do pantyhose. I don't like using pantyhose. These are, I don't know, I'm sure they're way more expensive as compared to using pantyhose or knee-highs, but I don't know. That's what I like to do. That's what I do. That's what I do. I also, if you bought a baby from me, I make them very floppy. I cannot stand a stiff doll. Let me just show you. I'm going to give you an example. And when I made my vampire baby, I guess my feeling was that people might be using him in props and decorations at Halloween time, and you know, some people just use them as a regular baby doll, but I made him stiff like what you normally find reborns as, and I'll show you the difference. And I just don't like it, and I'm just I'm gonna leave him like that, but I'll probably never make another doll like that again because I just can't stand when they're stiff. I don't like it. Let me get him. So although he's very cute, his little fangs, they're tiny. Although he's very cute, and he still is sweet to hold. If you can see, if I let go of his head, see how he stays kind of straight? He doesn't really bend that much. If I let go, I'm not holding his head, see? And he is a little bit, move that up a little. He's a little bit harder to get folded up. He still will, but he would almost sit up, you know, just a little bit. He'll still be, but he's a little bit too, he or she, a little bit too stiff for me. Now let me get my keeper, which is the Summer Rain sculpt. I've named her Clementine, but you see, I have to support her head the entire time because look what she does. She will fold all the way, and I mean, she's floppy, and that is how I like my babies. This outfit's just slightly too big for her. this is how I like them, and this baby is perfect to me. She is just absolutely precious. I love her. I've loved this sculpt since the first time I saw it. A little frowny face just gets me every time. And when you get dolls from me, if you like a stiff baby doll, you're not going to like my dolls because they are floppy. Because what newborn, I mean, it's just like a newborn. There. That's how I like them. They're precious. And matter of fact, I got my little Emma doll that's finished. I got her a little bit stiffer than I like, and I took her head off a while ago and took a good deal of stuffing out because she just was too stiff to me, and I cannot stand those stiff dolls. I mean, I want them, when you pick them up, you have to support the head because it's gonna flop back a lot. Anyway, there's my spiel on floppy dolls and why I love them. So, back to stuffing little Gemma. Get her ready to go. Here, let's put that back down here where you can see what I'm doing. First thing we do is get our legs stuffed. So we need our glass beads. And I made me a little funnel. I just took a piece of paper and rolled it up. But if you have an actual funnel, that would be even better. That's what I use to fill my limbs. I just use that little funnel. I've always done it that way. Little baby, it's a surprise how much they're going to weigh. And I don't like them to be too heavy, but I will generally fill the glass beads up to about here. I'm just dumping these glass beads. I know you can't see me, I'm off camera, but I am using this little scoop and dumping glass beads in the funnel. And then they're going right down into this limb, which I'm holding the funnel inside. There we go. Then we're going to check and see. Pat it down a little. Nine and 9.6 ounces is what this little leg weighs, and to me that's plenty. So I mean, that's a pretty good leg, and it feels pretty heavy. So the beads they're right about here. They're right about there, that level. There you go. Right about there. So I'll try to get this other leg to weigh the same as that one. Be safe here. I don't want to spill them everywhere. These things, I mean, if you spill them, they go in every nook and cranny of your room. I've spilled them a time or two, and it is terrible. Some people say be careful, they'll cut you, but I have found them to be very round and circular and never sharp. So I don't know what kind of things they bought to put in their doll, but these are glass beads, and beads makes, you know, it's round. So, and that one is 9.4, which is almost perfect. I will, just because I'm a tiny bit OCD, I will put just a tiny bit more in there. You could just leave it like that, but everything in me cries out to make it be perfect. So there you go. So there's our two leggies. Then we're going to switch to our little arms, and I'll fill them up right about elbow level. There we go. So, arms and legs have beads. So we will switch from this to fill in the rest. I've got a big giant, and I do mean giant, thing of polyfill in my closet, and I just take it out a little at a time and put it like in a Walmart bag or some smaller bag, because that way I can maneuver it easier. And I use this kind of polyfill in the limbs, but in the body I use cluster stuff, which looks like this, and it doesn't bunch up into one big chunk like normal polyfill does. And I've heard people say a lot of good things about the stuff that Bountiful Baby has something. It's got the word angel in the title, I believe. But I've never used it. But I'm so happy with this that I don't know if I would change, but I think it's Angel or something like that. I'm not sure, but. So now we've got these ready, so I'm just going to start stuffing. I'm going to get this all down. And this will also change the weight of your limbs, so once you get this in there, it'll add just a little. It doesn't weigh a lot, but it'll weigh just a little bit more. And I like to pack that pretty tight, because that is sealing those glass beads in so they don't move and rattle around. And then once you get that done, I do always put plugs. So when I get a kit, I go ahead and put the body and a Wonder Wafer and all the plugs and rings and zip ties and everything I need to make that doll with in the same big bag, and it's all together. So I never have to wonder, do I have the body for that doll, or do I have enough rings and plugs, because they're all, I sort it all when I get it, and it's all ready to go. So I already know ahead of time that I'm good to go on every kit, because I've got it all together. And I've got that just a little full. I don't have room. My plug's pushing back out. So what I take out to make room for my plug, oh, I can't take all that out. What I take out, at least some of it, I will stuff in this plug, the hole of the plug, in the hole in the end of the plug. I'll lay that down, make this a little easier. Then, if you squeeze the limb together, insert the plug, then let the limb go. Sometimes the little air suction will kind of hold it in a little better. So, all plugged up, no rattling, we're good to go. One little sweet arm. I don't know if it's focusing, but I never know if it's focusing. All right, on to the next. I'm going to do the same procedure with the other arm and the legs, and I'll be back. Okay, so all the limbs have been stuffed and capped, and they are all ready to go. Now we're getting ready to do the body. So the first thing I like to do is put the legs on. And be very careful that you lay it with the chest side up or the butt side up, whichever. I like to do the chest side up so that you can put the legs on there, lay them down, and make sure you've got the right leg on the right side. Jaja's gonna bark because she's not in here with me. I probably should just open the door. She's gonna want to come in here. Let me get her. You wanna come in, big girl? Come on. There you go. There you go. There you go, big girl. Okay. All right, so I'm going to hold that leg. Goes right in the groove. Okay, so got the legs on. Got her setting up here, sort of. Just waiting for the rest. Now, what I like to do is, this is what I always use as a Velveeta cheese keeper. But I never use it in the, it's from like an old Tupperware thing. I never use it in the kitchen, but I put it on my scale. And I know you can't see this part, I'm sorry. You hit the tare button, so this zeroes out. So, the part I want you to see, there we go. I take my pantyhose, well, tights, I use tights, as I showed you before. One leg goes in. And then you can also do it inside the head, but I like to see how much I'm putting in there. And I like to do the head around about maybe a pound for a little baby, a little less than a pound maybe. Because a lot of stuffing goes into the head, so I know I'm going to stuff it pretty heavily. So I get that in there, and then I put it on here, and you hit tear because you want this to be 0. That way you know what you're putting in. Math. So then I'm just dumping beads in the top and watching the scale numbers to see when I get it to about the weight I want. Set that aside. And here's what you have. So that feels pretty good. So that was about 12 ounces I put in there. Now, before you tie it, you're going to want to do this. Baby. And I'm not ready to put it in the head, but because I've still got to root some hair on her, I'm going to give her just a fine rooting all over. I don't know, should I? By the time this is posted, you won't be able to tell me because I will have already started it, but it does look pretty cute like this, and I don't know, maybe I'll just do a little on top, leave the bottom on the sides. But anyway, what you would do, you get your head nestled somewhere like that, and then you get your beads not in the toe and shove the toe in the head, and then you can just pour the beads little by little, and voila, it's inside. So that's just an easy way of getting it in there without having to shove and force and shove. And then you can pull it up, shake, shake, push it down. You don't want any of this to be rattly, so get this tight and then tie a knot here like that, and then it'll be in the head. So since I'm not really ready to do that yet, I'm going to bring this back out because I'm going to put a little hair on her head. So that's an easy way of doing it. Since I already know I have to wait and root it first, I'm going to go ahead and tie my ball, because you can stuff this in the head little by little. Like I was saying, you want to try to avoid that if you can, just because it's easier to not have to do that, but it's not impossible. So I'm going to go ahead and tie this just because I don't want it going everywhere while I'm rooting. And I'll just set it aside and put it in later when I get done with the rooting and the gluing. So you just want to make sure that this is not rattly. It's got to be pretty snug. And I don't like to cut the leg off until I do this part, because I want to make sure I've got a lot here to tie with. And I pull it very tight and then cut it off pretty close, 1/4 inch or so. There's my head ball. There we go. Makes a nice stress ball. So there we go, her head weight. Now we can carry on with the rest of this. Well, the rest of this will go in her body. So what I like to do is lay her body out, and I like to lay this down. And you can, if you've got another leg, you can use that toe and you won't have to tie a knot in both ends. That's probably what I'll do. But then when you get ready to use this again, you just tie a knot in both ends, and that way you can still use it. I used to sew little bags out of just some knit fabric, and this is just so much simpler to get these. It's not cheaper, but it's simpler. And since I got another full-time job, I like to do simple when I can. So I just look and see about how long the body is, and I use about that much. I don't cut it off yet. I just like to make sure I've got enough. And since I'm going to use this leg, I know I've got plenty. So what I'm going to do is the same procedure. I'm going to put this in here, fill it up, and I'm going to put probably about maybe 1.5 pounds or something. This out of the bottom. Set that aside. This out of the way. Okay. Now, this is where kind of laying it out comes into play. make sure you've got enough to do a little ball down in the butt. And that's where the bulk of it is usually at with my babies. I feel like this might be just a little bit much for this baby, but I'm going to roll with it. So we want to divide it, not quite in half. I like more to be in the bottom and a little bit less to be at the top. And then I'm gonna tie a knot up here at the top, and I want it to be not tight. I want it to be to where it can move and you know, be free to bend and move easy. And you know, it's gonna get kind of squished down in the body like that. But every now and then I like to take them by their legs and hold on to the leg in the fabric and just shake them upside down every now and then, and it redistributes that. So I'll show you with one of my other dolls. But anyway, so when I tie this, I want to make sure there's enough that this is kind of stretched out, and then tie it so it's loose. I don't want this to be a hard, tight roll. I want it loose enough that this stuff can play back and forth a little bit. And as I've said before, I cannot stand babies that are stiff. I like them to be floppy. And that's how I make them. If you get one of my babies, you may even have to stuff it more or get somebody to stuff it. If you like them that way, don't buy my babies because they're floppy. And that's how I make them, and I just like them that way. Now the vampire baby is stiffer, and I don't like him. I don't like holding him. I don't like how he is because I like the floppiness. Okay, so enough about floppy. Even it out, and then cut it a little bit more than half to the bottom, and that's where we're going to tie. Just like that. And that's where these strings that I pull out of the body come in handy. I can use them again in this part. And I want it so there's enough room down here and enough room up here for a little bit of back and forth to happen. So, do loop it twice, and loop it twice again. And if that happened to come loose, it would not be the end of the world at all. But I tie it pretty good because I don't really want it to come loose, but if it did, it wouldn't really be that detrimental. I just like to separate the part that goes in the chest from the part that goes in the butt. So the first thing I do, this is empty. Let's see, get this leg turned around. Get your body all straightened out. It was a little twisted, so I've got it straightened out. There we go. Now, in the very, very butt section, you've got these little cheeks. I like to put just a little lump of polyfill down in these two areas, and I use the older kind of polyfill just because it does lump up, and I think those little butt cheeks need to be a little lump, so I use this kind for that. And that's the only place I put it in the body. And that's just me. I don't know why I like to do that, but I just do. That's one of my quirks, I guess. So I put the butt cheek pretty full. A nice little lump in each little cheek. Squish it in there pretty good. There we go. Got a little butt cheek. And then there's a space in there. And the space is right in front and between where you put those butt cheeks. That's what I'm just gonna have to call them, butt cheeks. That's where you're gonna put just a little bit of this polyfill. This is the cluster stuff, and I just want a little bed for this to sit on is all. Not much, because you want the bulk of this to be down inside the butt, because the butt is where the weight needs to be. So I like to kind of stuff it in there. And then we do this. Kind of get it in there. And you just have to kind of work with it until it gets to feeling how you want it. I just like that weight to be down in the bottom like that. And they make these little inserts that you can put in there. They're like cutlets that people wear in their bra, and you can put those in their butt, and you can put them in their belly. They're called, I think they're called baby fat or something, but they look just like those chicken cutlets that you put in your bra to build up your padding there. And people put them in there so that when they pat them on the butt, it feels like, you know, a butt. But I keep a little diaper on there, so that's just a wasted expense to me. It's going to last. So I try to buy the best things I can. Alright, so you've got your next lump, and we want a little bit of stuffing around where they separate, but not a lot. If you put a ton, that's where that not floppy feeling's going to come in, and you won't be able to bend the baby very well. And if that's what you're going for, then more power to you, but that is definitely not what I like. And on a side note, these little things that are inside here for the arms, make sure those are not scratchy, because over time, if that's scratchy, it's going to wear a hole in your stocking, your tights. So pay attention to that when you stuff it, because that needs to be smooth. You may even want to put something over it, a little piece of moleskin or just something to keep that from scratching. Ball. Some people want stuffing back here so you can't feel that, but I like to feel that because, and I've asked him repeatedly not to come in here talking, but he does it every day anyway. Okay, so some people don't like to feel that back. I like to be able to feel the weight a little bit through here, like that, because when you pat a baby on the back, you feel their back. You don't feel, you know what I mean? A baby's back is not squishy. They've got a backbone. So I kind of like to feel that. Some people want enough stuffing that you can't feel that weight, but I kind of like it. Probably will never do a custom ever, because art is very personal, and I don't want to make art be well, I can't have somebody else telling me the rules I need to follow, basically. There's a lot in life that you don't get to control, but when you go in your art room and you have fun making something, you get to control what direction it takes, and that's what I like. I'm not going to have somebody going, you know, put this color hair, put that color, stuff it more, you know. I'm like, no, this is how I like to stuff it. This is how it's getting stuffed. So, basically, you get what you get, and you don't throw a fit. We kind of live by those words in this house. Make sure that you are absolutely in love with that little face before you buy that doll. Okay. Now, once I get her head on, I think she will be good. I don't want a lot of stuffing in there. I think I already said, if you watched, I don't know if it's on this video or not, but I undid Emma's head and redid her because she was not floppy enough. So it's just, if you've ever held a really floppy baby, then you can see, and I sold one to someone else that said, I see what you mean about the floppy baby. I don't know, they're so much sweeter, and they seem more real, more like a real newborn. Because, you know, real newborns are, you know, they're fragile. You've got to protect their head, and they, you know, they can't hold their back up, and you have to support them. And that's how I want my dolls to be. And obviously, I know it's not a real baby, but I want it to feel real. And I have been taking the smelly goodie, as I like to call it, and putting it just inside the onesie. But what I'm used to doing is putting it inside the doll, and I'm going to revert back to that too. I keep trying to follow other people's rules, and I'm not doing it. Other people say, you know, what if somebody doesn't want the smell in their doll? Don't buy this doll. This doll has smell. Buy someone else's doll that did not put smell in their doll. And that's just how it's going to be, I guess. This one is going to go way down deep. Way down deep. And this one is going to go way up here. There we go. So I've got a couple dolls out there that don't have smell inside them, but they have it just laying inside the diaper and inside the bodysuit. But we're going back to putting it inside, because it makes me happy for it to always be in there. You can also get other kind of Wonder wafers that smell like all kinds of stuff, because they originated like in car washes, and they would put them, you know, under the seats or whatever to make the car smell good. And you can have your baby smell like strawberry or pina colada or whatever. I think that would be kind of cool. Okay, so we have that. Next step is going to be to put just a little bit of stuffing in the upper arm area, because little Gemma is a 3/4 limb, so she needs just a little bit of stuffing right here. And I don't like to put much in there either, because they'll look like a little weightlifter. If you hear the news reports in the background, I'm sorry, my husband's obsessed with coronavirus reports, so I'm a registered nurse. I hear enough about it at work, so I don't like to watch it at home. There we go. I like that. That may be just a little bit too tight. We'll go with it. And then once you get it in there the way you want it, you just cinch this up. And make sure you have it tight enough it won't come out, but loose enough that you can spin the arm around to it. Okay. Next one. I'll be back. Alright, so both our little arms are on. The head is not stuffed, but I'm going to put it on her just to see how it looks. Let's put a little bit of a tightening, just a little so it won't fall. Prop her up. And there's little Gemma. So, oh my gosh, I love this sculpt. I do mostly reborns, almost exclusively reborns, because I just like the fact that they're perfect. You know, the little feet and snuggly little bodies. I don't know. They just look, I love them. I just love reborns. This one is probably almost my favorite, just sculpted by an artist sculpt. I don't know why, but Gemma's little face is just so absolutely precious to me. I love her. I love her. It's the second Gemma I've made, and I really like how she looks. I hope you like her too. Once I get her hair rooted, we'll be back to show you. Bye, y'all.